There is a specific threshold, a precise biological moment where your muscles stop reacting to what you are doing and start evolving because of it. It does not live in week 1. It does not live in week 2. It exists inside a window that most men never reach because they quit 4 days before it opens. I know exactly where that window is because I spent 30 days finding it. Every calorie logged, every lift tracked, every blood marker, every HRV reading, every subjective measure of fatigue and output. 30 days of first-person data from my own body under the most demanding training protocol I have ever designed. And what the numbers showed me redefined everything I thought I knew about how fast a human frame can genuinely change. Here is what I proved. 30 days is not a challenge. It is not a jumpstart or a detox or a reset. It is the minimum viable threshold for a frame-altering transformation. And after week 3, your body crosses into a state of adaptation that most men will never experience because they never stayed long enough to find it. I'm giving you the complete blueprint today. Training, nutrition, daily execution, the mental framework that makes all of it hold. Nothing is held back. No part 2. Everything right here. But before we go anywhere, I want to ask you one question, and I need you to answer it honestly. When is the last time you kept a commitment to yourself for 30 straight days? That answer matters more than anything else I'm about to say, because at the end of this video, you will have every tool you need, and the only variable that determines your result is you. Stay in. Before the protocol, the standard. At Primal Unleashed, everything we build is anchored in one truth, a truth that separates the men who talk about transformation from the men who live inside it. Modern life makes us soft. Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We do not just lift weight, we reclaim our nature. That is the Silverback Standard, and Gorilla Mode is not a workout plan. It is a philosophical position. It is the decision, made once and then made again every single morning, that you will not let the comfort of modern life quietly dismantle what your body was designed to become. A gorilla does not train because it has a goal on an app. A gorilla moves because it is its nature to be powerful. That is the standard. Now let me show you how to build it. The psychology of the primal shift. I want to start here, not with the workouts, not with the food, because if you do not understand what is about to happen inside your body over these 30 days, you will quit in week 2. And week 2 is where every transformation lives or dies. Here's the truth the fitness industry will not sell you because there's no product attached to it. Muscle does not grow linearly. It does not respond proportionally to effort in the early weeks, which means the men training hardest in weeks 1 and 2 and seeing the least visible change in the mirror, those men are not failing. They're investing. The 2026 science on neuromuscular adaptation has become impossible to ignore. In the first 10 to 14 days of a new heavy compound training stimulus, the primary change happening inside your body is not structural, it's neurological. Your central nervous system is rerouting, building new motor pathways, learning to recruit muscle fibers that have been dormant, in some cases for years. This is completely invisible in the mirror, but it shows up on the bar. Around day 10 to 12, you'll notice a sudden jump in your working weight. A movement that felt impossible in session 1 now feels manageable. That's not your muscles growing overnight. That's your nervous system finally learning to access what was already there. The structural hypertrophy, the dense, thick growth that changes your actual frame, begins accelerating between days 15 and 21. Satellite cell proliferation, myofilament protein synthesis, increased cross-sectional fiber diameter. This is what eventually becomes visible in the mirror, but it requires the neurological foundation to be laid first. This is why 30 days is the number, not 20, not 25. 30, because it's the minimum window in which the neurological, hypertrophic, and enough visual accumulation can all complete. So when week 2 feels like nothing is happening, and I promise you it will feel that way, remember this moment. That feeling is not evidence the protocol is failing you. It is evidence you are inside the phase that most men never survive. The men who make it through week 2 are the men who transform. That's not motivational language, that's the data. Now here's the psychological layer that determines everything. Most people approach a 30-day challenge as an external goal, something they're doing, a program they're following. They identify as someone trying to transform, and the moment the results feel slow, that identity starts negotiating with the couch. The men who complete this and sustain it beyond it make a different kind of decision before they ever touch a barbell. They stop being someone trying to get fit and become someone who trains this way because it's who they are. That shift needs to happen right now, not on day 15 when you finally see the frame change, before the first rep. Not, I'm going to try gorilla mode. I am gorilla mode. Say it internally, mean it, and then let every decision for the next 30 days be made by that person, not by whoever you were before you pressed play. Coming up, the exact movement architecture that builds the Silverback frame, and I'm going to show you why the sequence of these lifts matters as much as the lifts themselves. Foundations of the gorilla frame. The Silverback silhouette is specific: wide upper back, traps that rise toward the jaw, shoulders that make doorways feel narrow, dense, powerful legs that look grown and not built. Achieving that silhouette requires a hierarchy of movement, and most men get this wrong. They train whatever they feel like on a given day, or they follow a push-pull split designed for bodybuilders with 20 hours a week to train, and they wonder why their frame never changes shape. Here's the gorilla mode compound architecture in order of neurological and hypertrophic priority. Weighted pull-ups sit at the top. Nothing recruits lat width in rear delt density under simultaneous mechanical load than vertical pulling. We train these with added weight, belt, vest, or dumbbell between the feet, dead hang at the bottom, full contraction at the top, every single rep. The men who half rep their pull-ups are building half a back. Barbell rows are your horizontal pulling anchor, pendlay rows for pure strength, chest-supported rows if your lower back needs relief from deadlift frequency. The principle is identical across variations. Full scapular retraction at the top, full stretch at the bottom, controlled on the way down. This is what builds the mid-back thickness that gives a physique three-dimensional depth. Trap bar deadlifts anchor your posterior chain. Hamstrings, glutes, spinal erectors, traps, all recruited simultaneously under maximum mechanical load.
3 to 4 sessions per week at varying intensities. This is the movement that makes your entire body dense. Not just strong, dense. There is a difference, and people can see it. Strict overhead press builds the cannonball deltoids that widen your frame from the top. Standing, strict, no leg drive, no excessive layback. Paired with lateral raises and rear delt work to ensure full three-dimensional shoulder development and long-term joint integrity under volume. Front squats complete the lower body architecture, the upright torso demand, the quad sweep, the brutal core activation. This is what makes your legs look powerful rather than simply large. Now, here is the variable that separates gorilla mode from generic strength training, and it is the piece most men skip over because it requires more discipline than adding weight to the bar. Time under tension. Most men move weights too fast. They use momentum where they should be using muscle. The result? The appearance of effort without the stimulus for growth. They are working hard and getting a fraction of the return. The gorilla mode protocol applies this to every working set. 3 seconds eccentric, the lowering phase. 1 second pause at maximum stretch, then explosive on the way up. This single adjustment dramatically increases mechanical tension on the muscle fiber without requiring additional load. It is the difference between going through a motion and creating an adaptation. We also layer daily mobility work on top of this. Not optional,
Not 5 minutes of half-hearted hip circles. Thoracic extension, hip flexor release, rotator cuff activation, programmed and deliberate. At this training volume, a body that cannot move freely is a body that breaks down in week 3. We move freely so we can train maximally. We train maximally so we transform. Next, I'm going to give you the fueling protocol that makes all of this possible, including the one nutritional mistake that silently destroys strength gains for most men in weeks 3 and 4. Precision fueling for mass and recovery. The training creates the demand. The nutrition is what your body uses to answer it. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Most men who fail a transformation program do not fail in the gym. They fail in the kitchen. Not because they eat badly, but because they eat imprecisely. They have no idea if they are eating enough of the right things at the right times to support the work they are doing. Here is the macro framework, calibrated for simultaneous muscle synthesis and aesthetic development during a 30-day block. Protein, 1 gram per pound of body weight every single day, non-negotiable. Your muscle tissue is being broken down and rebuilt at an accelerated rate under this training volume. The substrate for that rebuild is dietary protein. Without sufficient intake, your body will cannibalize existing muscle tissue to fuel recovery, meaning you are training hard to lose what you already have. Prioritize whole food sources: beef, eggs, salmon, full-fat Greek yogurt. Use a quality supplement to close any daily gap. Carbohydrates. This is where I see men make a catastrophic error that kills their entire program. They have absorbed the cultural message that carbohydrates are the enemy, and so they restrict them during a muscle-building phase. And then they wonder why their strength stalls in week 2 and never recovers. Carbohydrates are the primary fuel for high-intensity compound training. Without adequate glycogen stores, your central nervous system cannot recruit motor units at maximum capacity. You're leaving muscle-building stimulus on the table in every single set. During this 30-day window, we eat at a modest caloric surplus, 200 to 300 calories above your maintenance level, with carbohydrates positioned around training sessions where they are most needed. The refeed strategy. This is the piece most fitness content never gives you, and it is the reason most men's strength plateaus in the final stretch of a 30-day block. In weeks 3 and 4, we implement 2 deliberate high-calorie refeed days per week. These are not cheat days, they are precision tools. As your body adapts to a sustained training and caloric stimulus, metabolic rate begins to downregulate. Leptin, the hormone that regulates hunger and metabolic speed, drops when you are in a deficit or even at a prolonged modest surplus. Refeeds reset leptin sensitivity, replenish glycogen stores to maximum, and prevent the strength plateau that ends most people's momentum at exactly the moment the visual results should be peaking. This is not a reward, it is a biological necessity. Fats, 30% of total calories. Testosterone synthesis in natural athletes is directly dependent on adequate dietary fat intake. This is not debatable. The research is extensive and consistent. Prioritize omega-3 rich sources alongside animal source saturated fats. Supportive supplementation. Creatine monohydrate, 5 grams daily, the most validated ergogenic compound in the history of sports science, full stop. Vitamin D3 with K2, magnesium glycinate for sleep quality and nervous system recovery, and the one that most fitness channels ignore because it is not a marketable pre-workout, adaptogenic cortisol management, ashwagandha and rhodiola rosa specifically. Cortisol is catabolic at elevated chronic levels. It suppresses muscle protein synthesis at a cellular level. If you're training hard, sleeping 5 hours, managing high life stress, and not addressing the cortisol response, you are working against yourself biochemically every single day. Managing stress physiology is not a wellness trend. It is the difference between someone who trains hard and someone who actually transforms.
Next up, I'm going to give you the daily execution system that removes willpower from the equation, including the single morning data point that will tell you every day whether to go all out or pull back before you ever set foot in the gym. The blueprint for daily execution. Knowing the protocol is not enough. The men who complete 30 days are not more talented or more motivated than the men who quit. They are more systematic. They have replaced the daily decision about whether to show up with a structure so consistent it becomes automatic. The decision is already made before the alarm goes off. Here is the daily architecture. 5:45 a.m. Cold exposure, 2 minutes. Cold shower or cold plunge. This is not motivational theater. Cold exposure triggers acute norepinephrine release up to 300% above baseline, which directly primes the sympathetic nervous system for explosive physical output. More importantly, choosing physical discomfort before your day begins conditions your system to associate challenge with action rather than avoidance. That conditioning transfers directly to the training floor and to every difficult decision you make for the rest of the day. 6 a.m. Explosive CNS primer. Before coffee, before your phone. 5 minutes of explosive movement. Box jumps, broad jumps, medicine ball throws against a wall.
These are not warm-up exercises. They are neurological activation drills. You are sending a signal to your central nervous system. Maximum effort is required today. Prepare accordingly. 6:15 a.m. Main session. 60 to 75 minutes, no longer. The research on training duration and hormonal response is clear. Beyond 90 minutes of high-intensity loading, cortisol elevation becomes counterproductive to muscle synthesis. Keep sessions focused, dense, and purposeful. When it is done, it is done. The weekly structure. Monday and Thursday, upper body compound dominance. Weighted pull-ups, heavy rows, strict overhead press, weighted dips. Tuesday and Friday, lower body and posterior chain. Trap bar deadlifts, front squats, Romanian deadlifts, Bulgarian split squats. Wednesday, deliberate active recovery, not rest, movement. Long walk, swimming, yoga, mobility work. Blood flow accelerates tissue repair. Stillness delays it. Saturday, full body power session, the longest and most demanding session of the week. Barbell complexes, loaded carries, heavy compound supersets. This is where the week's accumulated neurological readiness gets expressed as maximum output. Sunday, true rest, sleep, nutrition, preparation. The body does not grow during training, it grows during recovery. Sunday is not a day off from the protocol. It is the day the protocol does its most important work. The one data point that changes everything. Every morning, before you train, before you eat, before you move, check your HRV. Heart rate variability. This single metric, measured by any modern fitness wearable, tells you with remarkable accuracy how well your central nervous system has recovered from the previous day's demand. A high HRV morning, full intensity, your system is ready, train maximally. A low HRV morning, pull back to 70% intensity, prioritize movement quality over maximum load, protect the long game. This single practice, adjusting training stimulus based on real-time biological feedback, separates athletes who train productively for 30 years from athletes who burn out in 3. Track your lifts, track your calories, track your sleep duration and quality. What is measured is managed. What is managed is mastered. What is mastered compounds. Sustaining the transformation beyond the challenge. Day 30. If you have followed this blueprint, if you have eaten with precision, trained with intensity, recovered with intention, and held the line through the valley of week 2, the person standing at that mirror on day 30 is a genuinely different version of you. Not just physically, though the physical change will be undeniable. Thicker traps, shoulders that have width and density you have never seen on yourself before, legs that carry load like they were designed to, a frame that finally matches the standard you committed to 30 days ago. But here's what no one ever talks about, and it is the result that matters most. You kept your word to yourself for 30 consecutive days. Through the mornings you did not want to move, through the sessions where everything felt heavy, through the meals you prepared when it would have been easier to order in. You chose the standard every single time comfort offered you an exit. That is not a fitness result. That is a character result. And unlike muscle, which requires ongoing stimulus to maintain, that result does not go away. Now, day 31. This is where most people destroy what they built. The structure disappears, the daily momentum stops, the external accountability is gone, and within 2 weeks, the habits that took 30 days to cement begin to dissolve. They slide back, they lose the frame, and 6 months later, they're looking for the next 30-day program. Do not be this person. The transition out of a high-intensity block must be managed, not abandoned. Take 7 to 10 days at 60% of your peak volume. This is supercompensation territory. Your body will express more growth in this recovery window than it did in the final days of the challenge, because accumulated systemic fatigue is cleared and your tissue can now fully express the adaptations it built under load. After that, 2 paths forward. The maintenance phase. You have established a new baseline, 3 to 4 sessions per week, consistent nutrition, continued data tracking. The frame you built requires dramatically less effort to maintain than it did to build. This is the physique that stays. The next growth phase. The 30 days showed you your ceiling. Now you raise it. Add 10% to total weekly volume. Set new performance benchmarks, not aesthetic targets, but strength targets. A new weighted pull-up record. A new trap bar deadlift personal best. A new front squat depth. Performance goals are more durable than physique goals because they always give you something to move toward, not something to hold on to. And the tribe. Right now, at this exact moment, there are men around the world who are following this protocol. Men who made the same decision you're about to make, who are inside week 1, grinding through week 3, or standing at their day 30 mirror for the first time. That is not an audience. That is a community of practitioners, a tribe that holds the standard together. The 30 days is the door. What you build on the other side is up to you, but the door is open right now. You now have the complete blueprint, the psychology of the primal shift, the movement architecture that builds the gorilla frame, the precision fueling system, the daily execution structure that makes discipline automatic, and the roadmap for the day after the 30 days end. Nothing is missing. But I want to be honest with you right now because I respect your time and you deserve the truth. Most people who watch this video will feel genuinely fired up. They will feel the weight of what I just handed them. They will plan to start. They will even write out a training schedule in their notes app tonight. And then they will wait for Monday. And Monday will come cold and early, and the pillow will be warm, and they will think, tomorrow. If you are still watching right now, past the 24-minute mark of a video that most people skip through, you are already different from 90% of people who started this video. You are not the person who clicks and moves on, so do not act like one. Here's what I'm asking you to do right now, before this video closes. Drop the word Silverback in the comments. That's it. That single word tells me and every other person in this community that you crossed the line today, that you made the decision, that you are in. If this channel is where you want to hold your standard, subscribe, because next week I'm breaking down the week-by-week cellular timeline of what is actually happening inside your body during each of the 4 weeks of this challenge. What you should feel, what you should see, and how to train each phase differently to maximize what is already happening beneath the surface. You do not want to be mid-challenge without that information. Modern life makes us soft. Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We do not just lift weight, we reclaim our nature. I am Dr. Aris Thorne. This is the Silverback Standard. Now go.